We've ended up in a situation where the most influential anime content creators have alleged white nationalist dog whistler, significantly white nationalist enough that Google demonetized his account, Disney severed ties with him. The stupid part about this is I don't even give a shit about Pewdiepie. Honestly, catching strays here, but I started looking into him because people in the comments of my last video says that Trash Taste banned Hassan for being political, not on their podcast, but for covering left politics online. So I was like, who else has Trash Taste? Oh, they've had Pewdiepie on a couple times. I remember him getting into some hot water a while ago where he said this.
What a fucking Jeez, oh my god, what the fuck? What a fucking asshole.
Apparently he read a book at some point.
An Antidote to Chaos by Jordan.
Where he did this.
He paid 2 men to hold up an anti-Semitic sign.
PewDiePie caught a stray from just this research and I was just like, I can't not include this, right? I mean, this is crazy.
Today we're talking about a YouTuber known as Big Dad. It's about people who say One Piece isn't political. I don't know anything about One Piece. I don't watch it. I just know it's about pirates. And I'm one of those people that believes everything is inherently political. All media has some sort of political commentary in it, even if they try not to. I'm just also of the opinion that it doesn't matter that much. You are allowed to not discuss the political part. You're allowed to not apply whatever media you're watching to your real life. I think that's totally fine. I'm only going to talk really about the part where he goes in on the YouTubers. So these 3 YouTubers, Giguk, CDogVA, and Joey, the anime man, they run a podcast called Trash Taste, and CDogVA on stream explains that Hassan Piker is essentially blacklisted from coming on the podcast for at least a while because they are an apolitical podcast, and Hassan Piker has been being very political online, despite having had Hassan Piker on before. And now, Big Dad, he opens it up and he goes, well, they won't have Hassan Piker on because he's political, not because he's going to talk about politics on their stream, but because he's political on his own stream. But they'll have PewDiePie on. And PewDiePie, well, you know, the bridge incident. He said the gamer word. He made a anti-Semitic joke in that video about Fiverr things and got his contract with Disney disbanded, as well as his response to journalists being in a military garb that looks like something a Nazi might be wearing. Why would you compare these two people? First off, PewDiePie has probably, as far as I'm aware, he's never made a political statement on his YouTube channel. We'll break down these 3 big strikes PewDiePie has that everybody will use to claim he is a Nazi. And the first one being the death to all Jews message he paid 2 men on Fiverr to put on a sign. You can essentially boil that video down to he wasn't thinking they would actually post it. He wasn't thinking they would actually do what he did when he paid them the money to do it. But you could say the joke of the video is just that they wrote edgy thing on the sign. They actually did it. That's crazy. Fiverr as a website allowing that, that's wild. It's a vulgar sentence, but the idea is that that's fucked up to put on the sign. It's not that it's what he believes. It's just some fucked up edgy thing to say. You gotta keep in mind, during these times, it was the Filthy Frank era, the iDubbbz era, before he renounced the content cop. Like, the culture was different then. And so it all blew over. He lost his, Disney Plus affiliations, and everybody, the journalists went after him. And his response to the journalism was to come out wearing a military uniform as a joke to respond to the people. It's like, oh, so he's just playing into being a Nazi. He's admitting it. He's wearing Nazi garb. But it was just another joke. The uniform that he was wearing in that clip is that of a British military officer. So the meta joke is that people, of course, are going to assume it's a Nazi one, but they didn't do their research. They don't know what Nazi uniforms look like. And he was wearing a British officer uniform. So again, the joke is not that he is a Nazi, it's that you will think he is a Nazi, and thus when he wears something of military appearance, you think it's Nazi. But it's not. That's still not proof that he is a Nazi. But the bridge incident is just, he's just a gamer, I don't know. This is going on like 8 years. This is a long time since he's done these. And since then, and before that, what kind of videos has PewDiePie made? If you really look at anything he said, when has he overtly stated a political opinion? I don't know any. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any. Big Dad did not cite any point where he states a political opinion. He's just inferring PewDiePie's political opinions based on what PewDiePie has said, which is not the same as what his overt political opinions are. And also, if you look at the kind of videos that PewDiePie makes, he makes nothing burger videos. Like, PewDiePie has never, maybe once or twice, he's made a video. Like his book recommendations videos, I think those are pretty solid. But most of the time, he makes Reddit slop videos. He makes Reddit reaction videos. He used to do a drama reaction channel. And he made gaming slop videos. He literally just posted every day. That's PewDiePie's whole brand has been making safe, nothing content except for the period of time when he was being edgy. And he hasn't done that for 8 years now. He's literally retired. He makes a video like once a month, and it's, I installed Linux on my computer. I don't know how installing Linux on your computer is a right-wing activity. Big Dad does not overtly call him a Nazi. He does everything but call him that. He calls him
a groiper who says the N-word.
I feel like this is slander. This Big Dad guy uses the fact that he read Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life, his self-help book, and liked it. It's a self-help book. It's not proof you're a Nazi. It's so insane to me. He's insinuating that by having PewDiePie on is picking the alt-right side of the argument. When Hassan Piker himself is a political activist, actively talks about politics 8 hours a day. He watches the news. PewDiePie does not watch the news on live stream. I don't know. I can't remember when was the last time, in the last 2 years, has PewDiePie mentioned the news on his YouTube channel. He entertains, in the most harmless way. Since those news reviews, he's basically given up edgy comedy. He's borderline, almost unwatchable. He's not funny. And he doesn't make statements that are controversial. He makes sure every video of his is monetized. Sponsorships. This man is out here to make the bag. He's making the bag. He's not making political statements. And I just don't understand the point of starting this video off and immediately flaming PewDiePie for bullshit when you have such a good argument for literally everything else. Because, he's talking about how these guys are basically pussies. And even maybe insinuating a little bit more that they might even be on the far right side, which to me, to say that being pro-Israel is far right is not equivalent in my mind, because someone who would be on the pro-Israeli side would never be a Nazi. They might be close to that bar, but they could never cross the line into being a Nazi. If you observe culture people like Nick Fuentes, Sam Hyde, real white nationalist people, they are not on the side of the genocide going on in Israel-Palestine. They're not pro the destruction of Gaza. They are not pro the creation of Israel. They are not on that side. So to imply that having a groiper on, a so-called groiper, PewDiePie, which is not even remotely true, you can like Jordan Peterson and not be a groiper. In fact, someone who likes Jordan Peterson is not in the same camp as somebody who likes Sam Hyde or Nick Fuentes or Nazism, because they're not equivalent. They are in the same side of the political spectrum, but they are not even near the same corner. There are a vast difference between someone who hates Jewish people and somebody who believes Israel should exist. Someone who is a Zionist, or on a is that a political? Yeah, Zionist, is that a slur now? I actually don't know. I'm not meaning it in a slur way. I'm meaning it in a you like the state of Israel way. So in my mind, I just don't understand the flaming PewDiePie on this. They don't see how they're equivalent. Bring up a better person to equate if you want to do that, because PewDiePie has been apolitical, as truly apolitical as you can get, for 8 years now. And maybe 5, maybe because he did do this. The 2017 was the subscribe to PewDiePie, a little thing he was doing. Maybe 4 years, but it's been a while, and he's retired. And even then, subscribe to PewDiePie was still just edgy memes. And you could say it's a little bit iffy, a little racist, and it's done now. He ended it. After it was truly co-opted by right-wing people during that one shooting that happened, he ended the meme. If PewDiePie was actually a hateful Nazi, like people seem to believe, he would have continued to propagate the subscribe to PewDiePie movement after that shooting. Like, there's no world where someone who has created a movement like that ends it if they believed that shooter was doing a good thing. It just like boggles my mind, because later on, and then here's the kicker, he makes a slam dunk of a point on that podcast for why those guys are pussies. Joey, the anime man, one of the co-hosts of the podcast, makes that CDawg VA is a part of, who, you know, they don't get political, right? They're not having Hassan Piker on because he's an active commentator and he's doing like political things. Their friend, the anime man, had made a video on his own channel, right? Which is the same thing that like Hassan does, advocating politics. And it was about a sexual acts in art bill or something that was being passed in Australia. Essentially, you can boil down that video that he made being upset about the fact that they were trying to, or did successfully, ban lolly hentai in Australia. So the anime man is a lolly hentai enjoyer, potentially. At the very least, he is a hentai enjoyer, and he believes it is a break on free speech. Now, regardless of your thoughts on freedom of expression and lolly hentai, that's an own. Because it's like there are real children in Gaza who get, you know, who are being hurt right now. And the anime man and their podcast, they are not going to speak up about real children being hurt because it's too political. But when they can't draw cartoon child porn, that's when they need to speak up. That's okay for their co-host to be going on political promotional videos and uploading those about lolly hentai, about sexual depictions of children. No, Hassan can't talk about real dying children starving to death and being bombed in another country. I do see that is a slam dunk. That's an own. That's like, that just kind of shows their hand. It shows that there truly are a bunch of pussies. So if I could have advised Big Dad, I would have said cut the PewDiePie segment out. That segment is, well, it's egregious, honestly. It kind of makes you seem like a fucking idiot. So I don't know, like, it's bad optics. Sort of not a great start, not a great promotion, I would say. It makes you kind of look like a dumbass. So yeah. And I would also like to add that these people like CDawg VA, like the Trash Taste podcast fellows, they are what I'd like to call rational actors, and not in the sense that what they do, like, well, it makes sense, but it's not in like the classic sense of rational. It's in the sense that everything that they do is in their best interests. And it is never really in your best interests to actively promote to call a genocide while it's happening. It's not good optically or business-wise or financially to make a podcast where you talk about anime and then insert politics or talk about a genocide that's happening, because that's going to make you lose your sponsors. And if you go too far with it, you could even have your entire podcast deleted. And I do, in defense of these fellas, despite what I said earlier about them being slam dunks, they are pussies. That's undefinitively true. But I do think that it is all right for people to be pussies. I think it's all right for you to create a podcast. Hypocritical pussies, actually. They are hypocritical. They're hypocritical pussies. But that's a sin. That's too far. But to be a regular ass pussy, where they're like, I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to think about that greater spot. You know, they're filling a niche, talking about anime in a podcast form with guests. That does not need to mention the Israel, Palestine, Gaza, whatever. It doesn't need to happen. Not everything needs to talk about that. Political outlets, people who talk about politics, got bug, fucking wasp. People who talk about politics like Hassan Piker absolutely should be covering these things. But I do not believe that it's necessary for an anime podcast to to do that. And I will say, and to risk their finances, their money, like I would say Big Dad as a small YouTuber who he has a kid, that's what he said, he has a kid, and he probably has a job to finance that child that is not connected to YouTube, but it is when your money comes from YouTube, you don't really want to jeopardize that sort of opportunity. So it can be completely understandable. And I would say not even that no respect given to somebody who's just trying to get the bag and feed themselves and, maintain their lifestyle. I think it's, and do you think the viewers of the Trash Taste podcast really want to see anything about Gaza? Like, look, if I'm going to sit down at the end of my day and listen to a podcast before I go to bed or while I'm trying to sleep. No, I personally, I don't want to be reminded that there are children starving to death in Gaza. Like, it's not going to help me go to bed. And a lot of things that like people, do in their free time are to avoid thinking about the realities of this world, because when you think about them, it's kind of, I would say, a bit of a waste of time. You get the point. I heard it the first time. Gaza is bad. Bad things are going on in there. A lot of death, a lot of tragedy. There's not that much you can do besides donate to charity. And even then, you can't guarantee that charity money is going to go where it's supposed to. A lot of these charities are not, can be corrupt, et cetera, but that is probably the only way that someone who wanted to make a difference could, if they have the spare money to donate to a cause like that. But beyond that, thinking about Israel, Palestine, and Gaza, like, you can only raise awareness, but when you raise awareness, what happens? Not very much. It's good to not, don't get me wrong, it's good if you want to raise awareness, do it all you want. But I think to insist that other people and everyone else is a moral imperative to raise awareness for something that everybody knows about, I think it's a little bit arrogant, honestly. And now, now that we know about them promoting politics regardless, they are hypocritical, and hypocrites on the internet need to die. We all know that. I'm just kidding about the dying part. They need to be reckoned with. That's this video is warranted. It's just the way you present it is very condescending, and I understand that's what you wanted to do, but opening up with PewDiePie is not the move for that, because PewDiePie is not an active political pundit or a political figure at all. He has never tried to be that. He has never been that. The alt-right, I will agree, during the subscribe to PewDiePie movement, they wanted him to be their guy really, really badly. But it never happened. He could have done it. PewDiePie could have become a right-wing grifter, and yet he's not. So I would think that I think you owe PewDiePie an apology, Big Dad. But let's say you made a thing about me being a Nazi. I'm not a Nazi. I would have to be like, yo, dude, that's kind of fucked up that you're just lying about me. Like, what? I would actually want to sit down and talk with you, Big Dad, about why you seem to be so adamant about PewDiePie being a Nazi, because I don't think reading Jordan Peterson makes you a Nazi. I don't even like Jordan Peterson that much. And we should also keep in mind that during the time that PewDiePie did read Jordan Peterson's book, like, Jordan Peterson was not as hated or confirmed psycho crazy as he is to this day. I remember when ContraPoints made her video, which is around the same time, it was still kind of a debate as to whether Jordan Peterson was a good thing or not. Like, there are good things to Jordan Peterson. Any leftist will tell you that. Maybe not any leftist, but a lot of the big ones. It's just like there's a lot of downsides to that guy's thinking as well. But I just don't see how liking his book about self-help, he's like, clean your room, clean your room. Like, does that make you a Nazi? Is that really proof that you're a far-right groiper? Does Nick Fuentes, the king of the groiper himself, has he read the 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson? I don't think so. Okay, that's enough. Big Dad, you're blowing the fuck up doing this. I actually really respect you speaking out on Gaza and all that. I just think that you are doing it in a way by, you know, mentioning things like PewDiePie, which is such an obvious, like, thing that is stupid to say, when you have already better material. Like, you mentioned PewDiePie, they have PewDiePie on, he's been in controversy, but they won't have Hassan, who's also been in controversy. That's the kind of point you bring up when you have nothing on somebody. But you have the lolly hentai thing. Like, why did you, I would really like to talk to you, honestly. Like, why did you think that the lolly hentai bit was less important than PewDiePie being on a podcast? Because that is just not equivalent. That's the lolly hentai one's a lot worse in my opinion. I think that's just a gotcha on its own. You could have cut the video length in half and just talked about that. But yeah, good luck with your One Piece videos. I don't watch One Piece, but the way you've been talking about it, I actually might start watching it now, or reading it. I don't think I'll watch One Piece. Alrighty, goodbye. Adios.